On to some head work. This is the head of the Gen4 3SGTE engine, which I tried to introduce briefly in the first video of the engine. As I said before, I broke a stud clean off, trying to take it off. There is one left here. These are really hard to take. There is an unbroken stud, a new one actually here. You can see there is some sort of thread locker already applied from the factory on them. And imagine this being in there with all the heat over the years. And I tried to take it out with an impact gun, which was dumb on my end, but it broke clean off right from the area where it makes contact with the head. So I'll show you a trick that I learned, which is a 2-nut trick later on to take this final one off if I can. But pretty much you jam 2 nuts and tighten them against each other and use the nut on the interior part or the inner part and wrench on it trying to take this out. Luckily none of the others broke, but because I broke it I had to take it to a machine shop because I couldn't take it out with a broken stud remover tool, gizmos, whatever they sell. So I drilled it a bit, but I couldn't drill it out all the way, so I had to take it out to a machine shop, which by the way machined it out, but they put all bunch of junk in there. You can see all the shavings inside, so unfortunately I need to take the camshafts out now. So that is not fun. But the only right way to do this is to take the camshafts out so I can clean them properly and there is no metal shavings left in here. Because, you know, if you leave them, they may end up damaging something or getting stuck in some channel. Now the valves are semi-open, so I don't want to rest them on the valves. So we got our nifty block helpers, which I'll place on 2 corners and move this. Of course, as you can see, cramped spaces are my thing. I really need to get rid of a bunch of junk. There. Okay, maybe more here. Right. Okay, now there is a certain way these should be taken out, which you can find here. I got my 10mm. I don't know how much force these will require, so let's start with the breaker bar. There. That feels easier. There's the first one. This is the second one. And 3. Now, is there a... no, okay, there is no bearing in it. Second one, third one, fourth one. So this right here looks like a tab. We can lift this up like so. All right, hopefully without damaging it. There's another tab here. That's out. Another one here. That's also out. Those are free to move. Come on now. There's that. There's that. So this one is out. Good. Okay, apparently there's this guy. Is there a sister? Yes, there is. There's a sister on the other hand. On the other side, there it is. Both of them are left on the block, or the head, whatever you call it. Let's take the cam out. It's in decent shape. I don't see any crazy scarring or anything going on with it. So I'll let them rest like so. And some of you may be cringing over these actions, but you see the space I have to work with. Now, do these things lift? If they do, they will fall. Yep, they do lift. It's the second one. First one. But this engine teardown, if nothing else, should show you, in air quotes, a low mileage Japanese car engine can still have worn down components even if it is a Toyota. So since you have the engine already out, and since you're changing all the bolts and everything, it is really a good idea to go through and do this the right way. So take it apart as I did, pay attention, clean the carbon off of your pistons, because this is the only chance really you'll get. So start right is my suggestion to you. There is the first one. There's the second one. The valves are exceptionally bad as far as the carbon on top of them goes. So that sits there and it sits there. You can see, especially on this, the amount of carbon is unbelievable. Like, it's caked. And these are relatively better, but we'll make them even cleaner. Again, since this is out, this is a good time to do this, and it will renew your engine's life. Now, of course, doing the carbon cleaning, I'll have to use some sort of solvent like last time when I did clean the pistons, and we'll be using a scouring pad like this so we don't damage anything, especially aluminum. Again, I'm stressing this because I cannot stress it enough. You would be surprised how easy it is to damage aluminum until you do. Anyways, so it's mask time. You won't be hearing me. You'll be hearing me scouring and breathing behind the mask. So Well, we are done with the cleaning part. To my surprise, there wasn't much to clean. Actually, I'm kind of surprised because I didn't notice the valves were not made the same. Looks like these are cast, and there is a cast marking. This is where the casting meets the sand die, if you will, and it leaves a mark like this. Now, I'm kind of bummed that they didn't clean these all too well. These valve surfaces should have all even surfaces, but I guess this being a relatively cheap car, they didn't bother with cleaning the surfaces of the as cast valves. So this that I thought was carbon because it was all black and it wasn't as flat as this one, but no matter how much I tried to take it off, it didn't come off. And when the carbon is actually gone, you can see it is on the valve itself. It's just left from the casting process. They just didn't bother to machine it down, is what it is. So that being done, now I can try to remove the remaining head gasket without blowing something up, hopefully. I don't want to use the razor blade because it will score the heck out of this. Okay, that's a pleasant surprise. Let's see if it will go blunt. The rest could be a job for the sandpaper. The reason I'm going through all this is because between the head and the block, the head gasket is a really thin piece, as you can see. Even though this is a beefier version, most head gaskets aren't even this beefy. And they get stresses, heat, pressure, especially in a turbocharged car. Increased cylinder pressures can bust them open really easy. That's why people blow their head gaskets when they over boost their cars. So what I'm trying to say is you want to minimize that risk as much as possible, and one way is through making sure that it makes a uniform contact with the head and the block. deal. Now the main attraction. Let's see if the 1000 grit will actually work on this end. Now these kinda tell me there might have been an exhaust leak at one point or another, especially around here, right where the seal is. So I'll try to go razor blade on this, of course the plastic one. See how that does. Getting the initial soot off. Again, we want the gasket to seat as evenly as possible on the surface, so the smoother the surface, the better. So we will do the rough cleaning with the carb cleaner and the scrubbing pad, and then we'll move to sanding. So the scouring pad was a fail. Now 1000 grit wasn't really cutting it because it's too soft for this cake tone stuff. So I'll make an exception and try the 500 grit. See how that does. Yep, it's eating it now. And this one is clogged already. Now I'm gonna save these bits because I don't know how much more I have left. I can use this to hand sand these tiny areas. I think that's as good as I can get it by hand. So head cleaning is mostly done. I'm not gonna worry about the oxidation on these parts really. I just need to put it back together now. So now we have one quote-unquote clean head. Well, we are on to the last step of cleaning our head, and I'm not sure if you can see down there are the spark plug holes, and in those holes, some of them at least, there's quite a bit of rust. Disturbing, I might say. So for the last part of the cleaning, we are going to attempt to clean that to the best we can. But what this tells me is this engine stood outside for a while and it did collect some water, which did create this issue. So I got these brushes. These are nylon brushes, and if these don't work, I have some brass. I'll move on to the bigger guns. And voiceover time. So again, I lost some recording here due to the lapelier microphone falling off without me noticing, but I'll do my best here. So this is the Toyota seal packing that I'm pointing to. This is next level silicone, if you will. A lot of people praise about this, and we'll be using it to seal some portions of the head. You can see the part number on the tube itself. These are the caps that go over the valve springs, and there are two pieces in this case. There's a small piece that seats inside, and then there is the larger cap. So here I'm just applying engine oil as lubrication to the caps, and then I will be putting them in one by one. First goes the little piece right in the middle of the spring retainer, and then on top goes the cap. So just dip a bit of oil, lube it up, and push it in. So I won't show you all of them, obviously, just one or two. Come on, go in. And then I'm giving them a good wipe before everything goes in to make sure there's no residues left on them. And here goes the little piece. Now these are usually stuck to the bottom of the caps after all those years of use, so you'll have to separate them. Again, lubing it up and pushing it in gently, of course. You don't want to break any of these stuff. So here are the two camshafts, I'm sorry. And I'm just applying assembly lube. If you haven't heard of assembly lube before, well, you have now. It's a sticky type of oil. As you'll see when I apply it thoroughly, it sticks really well. It's almost like molten cheese, you know. When you're pulling it, you'll see the sticky residue coming up. So this is really tacky and it will stay. This is important when you're sort of air quotes breaking in the engine. It's not a new engine obviously, but you have started out of oil, so it's good to use this type of assembly lube to avoid any damage in the initial startup. So I'm just applying it to the second camshaft, and the same procedure. I'm just applying it to the areas where there will be mechanical contact, mainly the lobes. And you'll have to clean, of course, any remaining mess that you made, or I made in this case. Of course, change the gloves. So here is an area where we will apply the seal packing. So just the edges of the first two caps. These are the separator caps between the timing gears. Well, not the gears, but the gears that attach to the camshaft. So you should make sure that no oil gets out. Now the seal packing is good stuff, as they say, because it cures within 30 minutes. It's oil ready within 30 minutes of application, and it's very durable. So it's again next level silicone. It is not that expensive, so use it if you can instead of using just plain old black silicone. So I'm just now putting them in and then hand tightening the bolts. You'll see me do that one by one. After the main caps are on, the first ones, the other caps will have their own share of assembly lube just under the caps. And then I will torque them to spec, which in this case is 14 foot-pounds. And there's a sequence that you should torque them using, I believe there are a total of 10, yeah, there are 10 bolts per cam. So using a pattern, you'll torque them in sequence. I will include a link in the description where you can find all manuals related to MR2s and particularly the Gen 4 engine. So in there you can find this exact document that I'm using and many more. So just hand tightening them right now. Of course, putting a good dose of assembly lube. Right in that groove. And this is the last one. And we'll be moving to the torquing sequence shortly. So now I'm torquing them. Of course, I won't show you all of them, and I'm not doing this in sequence in the video. I mean, I've done it in sequence, but I'm not showing it in sequence. But again, you can find them in the documents. And I will leave you with this. Now we have a cleaned and reassembled head.